Welcome back to the show. We got another great one lined up. The Fed out. Swift is now out. Ripple XRP plus the U.S. government is in. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, the current crypto market cap is $3.9 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. The market is up 1.4% at the moment here. Bitcoin, 110,000 plus. Ethereum, 4,300 plus. XRP still fighting from the number 4 spot to get the number 3 spot back. We're 281, but I believe we're about to take it back. Look here, 167 billion plus market cap. Tether at 168, which is pretty solid for Tether. So it won't be long here if the market keeps moving. We'll have that number 3 spot back. And I think before this cycle's over, we're talking about XRP taking Ethereum out too. Here we are at 281. We're up 1% on the 24. We're off 3.4% on the 7-day. Look at the range of price right here. And I do want to let you know I did figure out a way to buy the dip early this morning. So 271 on the bottom side of this range to 283. I think the market is starting to turn around because Congress comes back from session tomorrow, I believe, and gets started that whole entire month of August. What did we see? The market downturn because Congress went on recess, right? We know in September, October, November, we're hearing suggestions that the Fed may start to cut rates. I think that is going to have a positive impact across all markets. We'll see what happens if that happens, right? But I do believe we are going to see something here. So the combination of some cutting rates and then Congress coming back and getting the Clarities Act done is going to be massive for all of us. Now, let's start right here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's iTrustCapital. Have you checked out iTrustCapital? Because you can. iTrustCapital.com/XRP Army, or just click the first link under every video on my channel and get started today. If you're new, you get a $100 funding bonus. And if you're not, you know what the deal is. iTrustCapital has the best crypto, gold, and silver IRAs on the planet. It is not up for discussion. That's just a fact. If you don't, I've been with them 6 years. And let me tell you something. Now they have the PCA accounts, right? So the premium custody accounts is really designed for somebody who either already has an IRA and wants a general account for the rest of their funds. So sitting outside of an IRA. So if you're in this PCA account, basically what they've done is created a closed loop system. And what do I mean by that? This is done to protect all of us from that attack vector in crypto. We all know that hacks and scams are at an all-time high, especially with the cycle getting ready to go where it's going, right? And the legislation we're waiting for. It is a very, very peak moment in this space, and lots of people are falling victims to very simple scams and things of that nature. And I tell you something, it's hard to know sometimes when something is a scam. iTrustCapital realizes this too, and that's why they created the PCA. It's a closed loop system, so you can go in with your cash in crypto, you can trade 24/7 on the platform just like anywhere else, and then the only way you come out is to cash out directly to cash. You cannot take the crypto out of the account. And that is done because that's where the real bad actor usually, if they get into your account, whether it's a SIM swap or you clicked on a link you shouldn't have, or you gave critical information to somebody you shouldn't have, they can get the crypto in there. Once they get in your account, they can move it to another exchange and bye. You're probably never going to see it again. Not here. Here, if you're a long-term holder, this makes a lot of sense for you because what you can do is go into this account, do all the things you need to do, and then when you come out to cash, and it can only go to your U.S. checking account. And this is done to help protect all of us from ourselves, because I know I've been hacked. I've made that mistake too. And I know people at iTrust have been hacked, and they understand this. And that's why they've created this account. So make sure you check it out for yourself here. You're going to love it. I'm telling you, you're absolutely going to love this. XRP6 is the code down at the bottom, and click the link iTrustCapital.com/XRP Army and get started today. Here we see Michael Brandt says, well, that's not good. Hackers are systematically exploiting Ethereum's EIP 7702 upgrade to steal World Liberty financial tokens from Donald Trump's crypto project, according to Slow Miss security researchers. Give Michael Brandt a follow for one. Number two, I say, what? The Trump family is not going to like hearing this one. You know, when this attention gets out about hacks happening on protocols, this is how, administrations, the Trump family, because obviously, President Trump's not doing all of this, it's all of his children, right? Bringing heat on the whole space, right? They couldn't wait. To me, I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm an American patriot. This shit should stop. I don't care. Look, I know the president's not doing it, but the kids are absolutely well informed about where this is going. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is no different than Nancy Pelosi trading on inside information on Capitol Hill. You can like it or you can lump it. I really don't care. But I don't like seeing this because it does create opposition when you're trying to get laws passed inside of Congress from the left side of the aisle. And they got reason enough to make the argument because we got reason enough to make the argument about Nancy Pelosi. So I don't want to hear any one-sided stories. That should stop. But they won't do that, will they? Nonetheless, here we are. A multi-chain world is uniting as it should. Open invitation for Charles Hoskinson to join us on stage at XRP Las Vegas. Take a listen.
For us to service all the needs of Bitcoin DeFi and XRP DeFi. And I would also like 3 to 5 clients to be horizontal, meaning within 12 to 24 months, they can begin to compete. We work with a lot of people, including other ecosystems, who have contributed to some of the slander. Look at the midnight airdrop, which was offered to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, XRP, especially XRP. Look at the history there. And now we're friends. I was just with Brad Garlinghouse at a roundtable with the Federal Reserve at the SALT conference in Jackson. And somehow, some way, we got along really well and said, hey, we need to talk more. That's maturity about these things.
It is maturity. And the fact is Charles has grown up because he was the only one that I saw slinging name calling and mud throwing during the case, trying to convince everybody it wasn't a grand conspiracy. Well, I think that's proved out well and away. And it's good because maturity is Charles learning how to shake someone's hand after he's name called them, because Brad's never said a thing about him. David Schwartz has never name called him either. So I like that this has happened. And I applaud Charles in his own arrogance, because that's exactly what this is. It's his own arrogance to ignore the fact that he was the one inciting others and we never attacked him. I'm still blocked by Charles and I shouldn't be. I've never name called Charles. All I've done is talk about the facts. And Charles doesn't like that sometimes because that's what happens when people get a lot of money. They can just put people around and they only want to hear the answers. But Charles, you're still welcome to sit on stage and talk about the united relationship that you're building with Ripple and XRP and all the other networks, because you know what? XRP Las Vegas isn't afraid to reach out. I want to see other multi-chains join us because that's where this world is going. Maxis are going to die off. They will be a funny part of history. It really will. That's the way this is going to shake out, and Charles Hoskinson knows it. Shout out to Charles for the clip, by the way. Here we have atomic swaps are one of blockchain's most powerful use cases before they allow settlement of tokenized assets and the transfer of money to happen simultaneously on chain in one transaction. I want you to listen to Algorand CEO Stacy highlighted how atomic swaps are already driving real-world tokenization, with Archax, which is a XRP ledger user, Ripple partner, bringing ABRDN's 3.8 billion euro money market fund on chain using Quantos and EuroD. Now, I want you to hear this, even though it doesn't involve directly the XRP ledger. I want you to hear this because it kind of does, and I'm going to show you why.
How do you think blockchain payment networks can integrate with existing systems like FedNow or the credit card networks without just replicating the cost structures and the inefficiencies that we see in the current system?
So I would say two things there. One is you can't move, and they talked about this on the panel before this, but I'll just say it again briefly. tokenizing something is like not that hard, right? I mean, it's just like computer code. Not that I can do any computer code, but it seems easy to me from, quite far away. But anyway, it's just computer code. And, but what you need is the other leg. You need the payments leg. You need atomic swaps. That smart contract has to have the payment working with the asset transfer. So on Algorand, for example, we have a payments provider called Quantos, which is regulated by the Dutch Central Bank. These are going to be very important things. And we tokenize an Aberdeen money market fund. But the interesting thing about that was not the tokenization of the Aberdeen money market fund. I really hope there's nobody from Aberdeen here in the audience, but that part was pretty straightforward. It was doing the atomic swap, instantly. And because in crypto, clearing is settlement. Like, that's the coolest thing about crypto. There's no like swift messaging leg that has to take place. And I'm old enough to remember when we went from T+3 to T+2 and then T+2 to T+1, it was like really big deal. And crypto doesn't need any of that. So I think that kind of atomic settlement is going to be very important on the payment side. The other thing on payments that I think is pretty interesting is just the 24/7 element of it that I think crypto can also provide.
Well, there you have it. Now let's take a look at it. First of all, it's a multi-chain world. I'm happy for Algorand. I want to see lots of companies in their protocols helping to create atomic swaps and the movement of tokenized real-world assets. Are you kidding me? This is beautiful. I love it. And then I want to throw this in. Quick, name any other digital asset that has the level of legal clarity. This is the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit has finally been concluded August 7th, 2025, which we all know is over, with both parties dropping the appeals, giving XRP definitive legal clarity as not a security when sold in public exchanges. And you know what? Then you see all of this about the real world asset tokenizations, which means that where traditional finance is going to be, all of it is going to be tokenized, every single bit of it. And that's the real role for crypto, right? Then coming back to this statement, a reminder, Ripple has been working on payments, clearing, and settlement, just as Stacy was talking about, and for well over a decade. Oh, and recently bought Hidden Road that clears and settles $3 trillion a year. And all of those $3 trillion worth of securities are going to be tokenized, and they're going to do it across the XRP ledger. That's where this world is going. And a reminder about Archax, who shared this here. Shout out to Archax. Ripple, the leader in enterprise blockchain, crypto solutions, and Archax, the UK's first financial conduct authority regulated digital asset exchange, broker, and custodian, today announced an extension to their existing collaboration. Millions of dollars of tokenized real-world assets onto the XRP ledger over the coming year and established the XRPL as one of the leading blockchains for real-world asset tokenization. Now, I just did a video yesterday telling everybody the secret weapon that Ripple has got is tokenizing everything for the financial system. And they have relationships for more than a decade because they've been building the market infrastructure and the digital tissue that will connect the legacy institutions to this new digital on-chain economy. They are the glue in between it, Ripple is. So understanding that they've made that connection, they have those deep relationships for more than a decade. Do you think those financial institutions are going somewhere else to do their tokenization too? I find that very hard to believe at my house. I think they're going to have Ripple do the tokenization side of it because they had them do the plumbing, right? So we'll see how this goes here. But you know what? It doesn't stop the FUD from continuing. Swift Chief Innovation Officer is now coming after XRP Ledger. This is Osama E. who put this here. Ripple's XRP stands alone as blockchain that's been battle hardened by nearly 5 years of intense regulatory scrutiny, proving its resilience like no other for over a decade. Ripple's been vocal about prioritizing compliance, trust, and interoperability, working hand in hand with global regulators to meet stringent standards while driving innovation in cross-border payments. Tom Zischek, the Chief Innovation Officer at Swift, says Osama E. surviving lawsuits isn't resilience. Neutral, shared governance is. Institutions don't want to live on competitors' rails. Compliance isn't about one company convincing regulators it should be allowed to operate. It's about the entire industry agreeing on shared standards that no single balance sheet controls. Well, you know what, Tom? Pride goes before the fall. You better lock in, Tom, because we did. And here's some fresh data for you, Tom. Fresh data on the XRP ledger right now, electricity consumption and carbon emissions is very, very low. The entire XRP ledger network has a carbon footprint of just one transatlantic flight with a Boeing 747. Basically, let's break this down as Vet does for us. One XRP ledger transaction consumes electricity equal to running an LED light bulb for 1 millisecond. That's what we're talking about here. No, and then you have here, wasn't it carbon neutral? And then Vet answers, yeah, I believe Ripple, XRP Ledger Commons, and other stakeholders purchase carbon credits to offset that little bit of CO2. So it's neutral or even negative. That's what we're dealing with. Tom Zischek, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And here to add to the point for Tom is this. Ripple the Fed 2.0, and if Swift isn't careful, they're about to get left behind too. Let's see how easily Swift can ignore Ripple after they get a national banking charter license and a Fed master account, Tom. Let's see what you think of it then, because that's coming. And we could see that as early as end of October, early November even. So I'm super excited to see what comes of this. Oh, and Tom's this check from Swift. We may want to go ahead and look at the BIS, the Central Bank of Central Banks. We don't have to remind Tom's this check of that. He knows that, right? How did Ripple get here? Isn't that interesting? Look at that. They didn't even ask Tom Zischek's approval. Isn't that something? So Tom is talking his book, and I got a feeling there are only a few pages left in his book because it's going to change very, very quickly. And I say dimes to donuts when Ripple gets that banking charter and a Fed master account, the U.S. government will want a piece of Ripple too, just like they want a piece of Palantir. Can you say systemically important, Tom? Because I can't. Now let's take a look at what's going on with the market and price. Shout out to Egg Red Crypto. He says next targets for ETH are 8,500, 15,200, or 22,000. And I say, wow, if ETH hits 22,000, what will XRP be? I don't know the answer. I'm just saying that, if ETH goes up that much, and we know that they're having hack issues, the builders have trouble building on the network and so on and so forth, what is XRP price going to be? I can only imagine. And then here we see the Great Wall is coming down. You can see the wall coming down, Bruce Lee taking it down there. This is Crypto Wizard adding to the conversation here on the XRP to BTC chart. And if you take a look at it here, BTC XRP chart, you can see we're sitting just below. So we get above this line and find support where it's now resistance. But we get above this line and we may see what we saw, lo and behold, back in 2017, 2018. Things are repeating very much like that time. And here we are, you see back in that time frame below that line, this area here. And here we are right here. So this gets very interesting to see because in that time period in 18 is where we saw that huge jump up. And, we have plenty of things in front of us that could cause that catalyst. There's no question about it. So whether it's the banking charter license, whether it's the Clarities Act, whether it's the Fed cutting rates, whether it's the ETF approvals, should I keep going? Because that's what we're waiting on. And what happens if we get all of them in the same window? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. Look for the Freedom Zone content in the second video today because I'm traveling and I can't wait to get back home. But we've had a wonderful time down here in Destin, Florida, where I'm now searching for a little home away from home for the family. All right, I'll catch all of you on the next one.